everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Adam.
And what were you saying just before we started this episode, Adam?
I said, let's get weird.
Let's get weird with Weird, the Al Yankovic story, starring none other than your favorite Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe.
You mean Frodo Baggins, first of all.
What's that?
I said Frodo Baggins, first of all.
What about Frodo Baggins?
Because you called him Harry Potter. He's Harry Potter, but he always gets confused for Frodo Baggins. And
Does
Elijah
he?
Wood was just all the time. And
I'm not aware of this. Is this
Oh,
a
it
thing?
happens constantly. Yeah, it's like Elijah Wood gets called Daniel Radcliffe, like, oh, I loved you in Harry Potter. And now, because it happens to them so often, they both just go like, you're welcome. Like, thanks for being a fan. And
Sure.
they just like roll with it.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you just kind of have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you do. It's been a couple of years. Like it'd
be fun to be confused for Elijah Wood every once in a while.
Well, and Elijah Wood was just here at Twin Cities Con.
He was
doing meet and greets and stuff like that. So I'm sure it happened there, or somebody was giving him some shit about it. So I just think it's funny. But yeah, starring Daniel Radcliffe. This is the episode for Weird.
Yeah. So if you're not aware of what this movie is, Adam, would you like to tell the people what it's about?
Weird, the Al Yankovic story, explores every facet of Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise to fame with early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon, to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously depraved lifestyle.
So first off, I'll say this movie is currently streaming for free on the Roku channel. I think that's the only place you can see it. You can download the Roku channel for free, I believe, and it doesn't matter if you have a Roku.
Mm-hmm.
You will get ads, and they're just kind of dropped in at certain times. It's not necessarily like, like on cable, they kind of curate it for when an ad should be placed, but they don't really do that here, which is, it's fine. It's not too distracting or anything.
Sometimes, right? It's just like,
exactly.
all of a sudden,
same
a break.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, you can check it out for free. And I was laughing at the description or the synopsis that you were reading, because this is very appropriately a parody of musical biopics.
Yes.
And we get a zillion of these, it seems like, every year now. And they're all like the exact same movie. I mean, I think we on this podcast have talked before about just how bored I didn't bother to see Elvis. I have no interest in the Whitney Houston movie.
Yep.
They're just all basically the same thing. And I guess I can't speak to the Elvis because I haven't seen that yet, but they all look the same and they all kind of cover the same, like, birth to death.
Yep.
Or,
arc of someone's life. And and I think the best version of this is still Dewey Cox. I think it's the perfect movie.
Well, that's kind of the inspiration for, or the formula for Weird, is that this is a parody of those. So most of this is fiction and just complete
almost
BS.
All of this, like, obviously people have been confused and said, like, oh, is this Weird Al's like actual life? Like, nobody really knows that much about him because he's not like a major star. He's just been around for like 40 years making music. So everything is made up. There's no part of this that is at any way like
the songs are real.
Serious. The songs are real, yeah, and like him meeting Dr. Demento and stuff like that, and then helping out his career, that's real. But that's about it. Like,
yeah,
Evan Rachel Wood plays Madonna, and he dates Madonna for like
a very aggressive and passionate love affair between Weird Al and Madonna.
So,
and they kind of make it make sense in the movie. Yeah. Like, it just sort of fits given the way that Evan Rachel Wood portrays Madonna.
Yeah.
Is pretty, I mean, you can tell that pretty much everybody in this movie is having a great old time.
Dude, an absolute blast. This would have been so much fun to be a part of.
Yeah, particularly Daniel Radcliffe. And he isn't Weird Al the entire movie, because we do get a little like 5 to 10 minute section at the beginning of the movie. It's one where he's a kid, and then another where he's a teenager going to like these really dangerous polka parties that parents don't want their kids going to, which is just a great touch. That was super funny. I do think this is similar to the way he got his first accordion.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of true. Like a guy just kind of showed up with one or something like that.
And he just like fell in love with it and got it and was just drawn to the instrument. Yeah.
And we'll go through some of the cast here, but there's a scene at a pool party, and I don't want to ruin any of that or say who's even in it, because a lot of famous people show up portrayed by the most random actors you can think of, and it's funny, and I don't want to ruin that for anybody.
Yeah.
Except to say that Jack Black is in that scene. I won't say who he is, but it's really good. But Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al, Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna, Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. And then we've got Julianne Nicholson plays his mom. Who plays his dad?
Toby Huss.
Toby Huss, thank you.
I've got to find out what else Toby Huss has been in.
He was just in Blonde. He was in Jerry Maguire, which is interesting. Basketball Diaries, 42, The Invitation. That
it looks like IMDb
Halloween
kind of
remake. He's been around a little bit, but
IMDb looks like it just like updated for me, and I really got to say I don't like it.
Nobody likes anything when it updates.
It's all I want and all that, whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean that's kind of the main bit of the cast, but we can get into sort of. I mean, the tone of this movie is just ridiculous, and it's portrayed very well in the trailer if you've seen that. And generally speaking, I really like the tone. I like how playful it is and how it doesn't take itself seriously at all, and how he can laugh at himself. Like he plays a record producer who laughs. So Weird Al himself plays a record producer who laughs the Daniel Radcliffe Weird Al out of his office.
Yeah.
For how bad he is at his job and writing music, basically. I like the bit about how he wrote My Bologna. Like that's just total nonsense, but it's really funny to just think of it that way. And I think really the first, it's weird to say until Madonna shows up because I like Evan Rachel Wood's performance, but until Madonna shows up, I was laughing a lot, pretty much just like at everything in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, the shtick sort of wore on me after a while. There's a whole crazy bit where like Pablo Escobar gets involved, which is kind of funny in theory, but didn't quite work for me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, where are you on that? Because I felt like I was laughing a lot, and then all of a sudden I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's fine towards the last third.
I think they just realized that they needed to actually like do something in this movie.
Right.
Like something else needed to happen because they're telling his story, but like there needs to be some sort of like other like inciting incident or like, all right, well now when he goes to that pool party, which we won't say too much of, like he's on his meteoric rise. He's like basically near the top already. And it's like, oh, what else do we do now? Like something's got to bring him down of some sort. And it happens to be Madonna. And so that just has to take its course, and that's not as fun, but like Evan Rachel Wood's fantastic as Madonna, and Daniel Radcliffe is fun during that whole bit, during that whole like relationship or that half of the movie. It's just not nearly as funny or as fun as the first half. The first half, with how zany and crazy and strange it all is phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing about that pool party that I need to ask, is that the same house where they filmed the pool party for Boogie Nights?
It might be.
It might be so similar.
It's close.
And maybe that was on purpose. I could totally see that being on purpose.
Well, especially because like, well, I don't want to go into the detail, but at the beginning when he's like, oh yeah, there's stuff for the band over there. Like,
right.
Like, go away. We don't need you. We want the star.
Yeah.
I could see that being possible.
Yeah, I do want to mention one standout moment for me. Like, definitely my favorite scene in the movie is the first time we see him performing his music in like for an audience at a bar. And it's like it's not like a biker bar per se, but a bunch of like blue collar, like just came in from the like mechanics and factory workers and beer white guys.
Yeah.
And he plays I Love Rocky Road. That was easily my favorite scene in the movie. Patton Oswalt shows up in that scene, which is super fun.
There's so many cameos. Like,
it's also one of my favorite Weird Al songs. It might be my favorite one.
Yeah, it was one of the first big ones for sure.
Yeah, and so just watching them play that entire thing in front of this audience that's super apprehensive at first.
Mhm.
and like not buying in at all. And then after like a few seconds, they can be like, oh, okay, this weird looking dude is playing some interesting music here. And then you got a whole bar of like 55-year-old drunk white guys like singing about ice cream,
Yep.
which is great.
It's just this movie perfectly captures the spirit of Weird Al and like what his
Yeah.
music has been, because he's been around for 40 plus years. Like that in and of itself is an amazing career for anybody, any musician, and he's been successfully doing things for so long. I mean, if you're not a fan, like you've definitely heard I Love Rocky Road. You heard the song about the Force when or like about Star Wars when that was very popular when the Phantom Menace came out. He did like White and Nerdy back when we were in
I was
like
going to bring up White and Nerdy. Yeah.
White and Nerdy. He did one of the last albums was Mandatory Fun, where he did oh shoot, I'm gonna forget the name, the big song on that. But like he's had records in like multiple records in every decade for a long time. And I mean, I've been a fan since I was a kid, so I'm definitely biased in my review here or this movie. But if this is the type of movie that if you're a fan of somebody in any art form and they go on to do like another thing, like this is exactly what you want. Like you want it to be like off the wall and ridiculous, and them just to like take the piss out of themselves and really just enjoy all of it and be like, look at all the stuff I've done, and it's how dumb is some of this stuff. It's perfect. It is a perfect Weird Al movie.
Nice.
And I loved it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
awesome. I don't really.
I don't have too much else.
I don't have a lot more to say about
the Madonna
this movie.
stuff is the only stuff I didn't really like, and like that's whatever.
Right, exactly. I mean, do you want to get into the stars? I think I've kind of said there's not, because it's all just kind of silly nonsense for the entire movie. There's not a lot to talk about. They're not even trying to have much of a plot.
No. I mean, I don't want to like give away bits, so
right,
like
same.
I don't want to talk too much about things. So
right, it's a different movie than something we're typically watching, where we're not looking so much. I mean, we're just looking at like comedic performances and how funny it is and how fun it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both agree that in that it pretty much succeeds.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll let's get to the stars. We'll be right back. You know, we were just talking about this, but I'm already amending my star rating. So I like
okay.
I had to watch this twice because I fell asleep during the first time we watched it, because it was after like a long weekend. Or a long Saturday rather. Having had some drinks and done some things with some friends, and then went home. It's like, oh yeah, I got to catch up on this.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go first because I'm already talking. I'm giving this a 4.5. Again, I'm completely biased. I'm completely biased. This is one of the funniest movies I've seen. When it started, because I was a fan, like I knew what I was kind of getting into and what like stuff was going to be. And seeing Daniel Radcliffe like take on Weird Al was A, like masterful, and B, hilarious. Daniel Radcliffe can do whatever he wants without really having to worry too much about what's going to happen to his career.
Yeah.
So that's helpful, but that's why he's a perfect cast for this. Every joke that you get in the first like 10 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, let's keep going. And it just builds and builds and builds. And it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. And every single part of that is funny if you're a fan, at least in my opinion. So I texted like my brother, I was texting other people. I was like, you need to see the Weird Al movie, because like I know you're a fan of his music and I know you're gonna like this movie. So like that's where I landed. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Awesome. Well, I liked it, but I feel like I'm gonna be like shitting on it almost at this point because of how much you liked it. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It did just kind of feel a little samey after a while, and then kind of the Madonna stuff just went in a direction that wasn't. I wasn't huge on that part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of dragged on for more than I would have liked, but I really liked the first half of it. I laughed a lot, and I do think, I mean, it's we're between like nailed everything about it and like perfectly solid Weird Al movie.
So if I wasn't a fan and I'd seen this movie, I would say the same things, because like I didn't think the ending wrapped up super great, but like what else were they gonna do? Like there's only so many avenues you can go when you're making.
And I've only heard probably like 10 or so Weird Al songs in my life. Maybe.
Gotcha. And I've heard
So,
all of them.
yeah. Exactly. Right. So you got a fan who loved the movie and a non-Weird Al fan who thought it was pretty fun.
Exactly. That's why I prefaced was like, I am insanely biased on this because I didn't go in thinking like I'm going to rate this movie and like really care about like what kind of cinema am I getting here. I went in as an absolute fan and loved every minute of it. So yeah, the ending is the weakest part with the Madonna stuff, but that's neither here nor there for me. So
all right,
indeed.
Well, 3 from me, a 4.5 from Adam, making it one of his favorites of 2022 so far.
Absolutely.
Always fun to see. Unless you have anything else, I think it is your turn to put a wrap on the show.
Yeah, I've got it. Hello, my name is Philo, and welcome to Secrets of the Universe. Today, we're going to learn how to make plutonium from common household items.